What is up, Raffalitos? Welcome back to my channel. We are back in this neighborhood. This is Sheriff Street. We're standing on the roundabout. This is the center of the roundabout at Sheriff and Railway Road. And I want to show you what's happening with the new railway road. So that's why we're in this neck of the woods. It's a long time since I've been back here, more than 2 weeks. And I wanted to see what has happened to this railway road that is being widened, expanded, and paved, repaved, resurfaced. Right, so that's what we're going to do. I also want to show you what's happening in Prashad Nagar. And in the meantime, while I show you that, I'm going to discuss what's happening with the local politics in Guyana, because this is a election year. Election's coming up in about 2 months, September 1st. And there's a whole lot of political circus. It is a political circus right now. So I'm going to discuss some of that as we look at what's happened in Prashad Nagar since the last time we were back in this neck of the woods. And I also want to show you what's happening on Dennis Street. So that's going to walk this morning. I think I'm about 2 miles into it, 3 miles into it now. So let's go. Let me flip the camera around and show you what's happening this morning. So guys, this is the intersection of Sheriff Street and Railway Road. That's Railway. We're looking east. We're gonna walk along it. What you can see already is that they actually completed the south lanes. The last time we were in this neck of the woods, they were still working on the south lanes. That's the westbound lanes. We're gonna take a look at that in a minute. Here we are. This is Sheriff Street looking south. Sheriff Street becomes Mandela Avenue by the Botanical Gardens and then turns into Heroes Highway when it gets that turn at the back road. So this is Sheriff Street looking south. It's a long time since we walked along Sheriff Street. There was that new multi-story apartment complex that was being built. Let me see if you can see it from here. Right, the tallest multi-story apartment building in Guyana was being built there in Campbellville. Yes, you can see it from here. That building. It's a long time since we've been back and taken a look at it, but it should be completed now. It was a complex of buildings, and we're probably gonna take a look at it at an update on that complex soon. This is David Street, Kitty, Sobrianville, right? So that's the intersection with Sheriff and David Street in Sobrianville, and that's Sobrianville. This is looking north on Sheriff Street towards the seawall. That's the intersection of Sheriff Street and Rupert Craig Highway. But let's see what's happening here. So last time we were in this neck of the woods, they had closed the westbound lanes, and because it was still being widened. And now what they've done is they've closed the eastbound lane, which is the one with no traffic. Right, so yes guys, we're walking east now on Railway Road. So what I said is that the last time we were here, they were still working on that westbound lane. So they actually widened the westbound lane. You can see how much wider it is. What I'm walking on right now used to be a two-way road, dual carriageway. You can see the double yellow line dividing eastbound and westbound traffic. And now the completed widened south westbound lanes of this railway road is wider than the entire road used to be. So that's going to be 2 lanes heading west when the road is completed. But for now, what they've done and they're doing is they closed all eastbound traffic, closed the road to eastbound traffic, on weekday mornings. Hey, that's a new building. Some new construction going up in Legacy Gardens, which is where we are right now. That's the cemetery, an old cemetery. Oh, that's Sheriff Medical Center. Got to point that out. On Sheriff Street, Sheriff Medical Center. I don't know if they got the name Sheriff from Sheriff Street, but the Sheriff group of companies is owned by Amir Ahmad and his family. We're going to talk some more about that once we start talking about politics, which I said we will address in future videos today. But here's where we are. They're actually going to widen the eastbound lanes just as much as they widened, well, I hope as much as they widened the westbound lanes. So what they've done is already started to tear up the shoulder of the road. I suppose they're going to eventually build a retaining wall and then backfill or fill in the space between the new drain and the retaining wall. I'm assuming that they're going to do the same thing on this side, the eastbound side, as they did on the westbound side. Right, you can see what they've done here. Let me just go across to show you what happened. This used to be a wide canal, and what they did is they reclaimed about half of the canal and they built this drain. This is supposed to be a storm drain, and this is what it looks like after it's been completed. So they put in these retaining walls on both sides of this drain. They backfilled and then built a wider, basically a 2-lane road. And they're supposed to do the same thing, right? They're going to do the same thing on the other side. At least I'm assuming that. However, one can't be sure, because in Guyana, construction is never consistent and predictable. So we're gonna have to wait to see what happens when they actually do complete the widening of this. Yeah. YouTube. So I'm assuming that what they're going to do eventually is the same thing as they did on the other side, which means they're going to have to move all of these lamp posts. But we'll see. In Guyana, nothing is consistent and predictable, so I don't know exactly what will end up happening. Yeah, but this is where we are. We are in Legacy Gardens, walking along the railway road. This used to be the railway embankment. Even before it was a road, it was turned into a road. And even before that, this used to be a railway line that connected Georgetown with Rossignol. There was a train that ran all the way along the coast from Georgetown to Berbice. And I'm hoping those days come again, because now the country can afford to do that. There's a lot of money coming into the country. Somebody asked me to talk about GDP and GDP per capita. Guyana now has a GDP per capita as of 2023, I believe, of about $23,000 per person. $23,000 per person, which is higher than Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica. The only countries that are have a higher GDP per capita than Guyana now are the Bahamas, which is about 36,000 USD per person, and Bermuda, which is over 100,000, I think about 93,000 US dollars per person in Bermuda. Bermuda, of course, is a tiny island with just a few thousand people, so I don't think it really is reflective of, GDP per capita in a larger country. But this is what is happening. This is the railway road, and because the GDP has grown largely due to the oil and gas industry producing more than a half of the GDP now. Guyana now has the money to build modern infrastructure. The problem that I have, and what I'm pointing out on most of these videos, is that the infrastructure we're building is sometimes not modern, right? Sometimes it's just basic and kind of 20 or 30 years old, right? Like for example, I just came off the traffic circle, right? That roundabout at Sheriff Street and Railway Road. That roundabout actually could have been an overpass so that railway line traffic did not have to stop or slow down at that roundabout. And eventually what happens when they when they open all these roads again, you get a traffic jam at the roundabout. Still, people don't understand why roundabouts are not necessarily the best solution for high volume traffic. It's because the math tells you if you reduce 8 lanes of traffic to 1 lane of traffic in roundabout, at rush hour you're going to get congestion, you're going to get backup of traffic. But this is what is happening. We're getting infrastructure, but it's not necessarily the appropriate kind of infrastructure, and this is why I'm pointing it out on these videos, with the reasoning that if you understand it, a lot of people will never get it, because if you're not accustomed to having good things, nice things, then you don't know when you're being robbed or when you're getting a bad deal, right? So for a lot of people who are arguing about their political views and their political party, this is really not about politics. But what will have to happen is that if the current political leaders can't do the job, then of course a new set of political leaders will be voted in to do the job. And that's what's happening in this election cycle. And if that doesn't happen this time, it's going to happen next time, because like I said, you can't continue to do a bad job and expect to get good results. Now this is Conversation Free Road. This is Conversation Free Road now. We're at the intersection with Conversation Free Road. That intersection in distance, that is the intersection with Rupert Craig Highway. Beyond that is the seawall. So this is Conversation Free Road. Now this road has been renewed, and this is the road I'm going to take. We want to go south on Conversation Free Road, back past Prashad Nagar, right, in Delhi Street, and see what has happened since the last time we were here. And so that's where we're going to go next. But this is what is happening. You can see construction has been completed up to this point, but more construction is going to happen in the distance. That is, more construction is happening east of where we are. And we will see that in future. But of course, this is where we've come from. This is what has happened so far. They've completed the westbound lanes here on Railway Road. They're still going to have to work on this intersection. I guess they're going to make a wider turn, and that's what's happening east. There's still a fair amount of construction to be done. The road surface has to be rebuilt. The surface has to be rebuilt, but they've completed the drains and the subsurface of the road with red clay. But this is what's happening, guys. If you want to see more content like this, click like and subscribe. Share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening here on Railway Road in Georgetown, Guyana. Later!